Good day. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Conversations with AARP. I am Troy Deshabir Schuster, State Director for AARP in the Virgin Islands. Today, in partnership with the Veterans Affairs Health Administration, we have come together to address the issue of fraud targeting our veterans. As we explore this issue, it is important to acknowledge the findings of a recent AARP survey, which revealed that veterans, military, and their families are nearly 40% more likely to lose money to scams and fraud compared to their civilian counterparts. Additionally, 4 out of 5 military and veteran adults were targeted by scams directly related to their military service or the benefits they receive. Scammers often use military jargon and specific government guidelines to craft an effective pitch to steal money from military members and veterans. 1 in 3 military and veteran adults reported losing money to these types of service-related scams. Of those who lost money, the top scams reported include: 1, benefit buyouts, or turning over VA pension and or disability benefits for a proposed lump sum payment that never materializes. Number 2, fraudulent record scam, paying for updated personal military records. And thirdly, the fake charitable giving request, donating to fake veteran charities. In response to this growing crisis, AARP created the Veterans Fraud Center as a part of their Fraud Watch network. This initiative serves as a resource hub, aiding veterans and their families in spotting scams and avoid having their service records or hard-earned benefits taken away. Today, we are joined by Ms. Coralys Ruiz, Communications Director with the Veterans Affairs Health Administration, to discuss the unique challenges facing our nation's veterans and their families, particularly those living in the Virgin Islands. We will also explore the resources available to provide support and protection to their assets. And so we welcome Ms. Coralys Ruiz. Welcome, Cora.
Thank you so much, Troy. Thank you for having me and for giving me this opportunity to protect our nation's heroes as well as their families and survivors.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. And you are based in Puerto Rico, San Juan?
Yes, I'm stationed in San Juan, Puerto Rico, serving in the VA Caribbean healthcare system, which is part of the Veterans Health Administration, an agency from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs.
Now, pardon my lack of knowledge here, but I'm sure that many other people have this same question. Is Veterans Affairs part of the armed services, or does it stand separate from the military services of the United States? How does that work together?
Oh yeah, no, don't worry. It's definitely something that a lot of people also think, but no, we are completely separate from the Department of Defense, which houses the armed forces. So the Department of Veterans Affairs is a complete separate department. And under the Department of Veterans Affairs, there are three sister agencies. That would be the Veterans Health Administration, which is for the one I work for. Then there is the Veterans Benefit Administration, which is the administration that works with compensation and pension for our veterans and their survivors and dependents. And then there is the National Cemetery Administration, which would be the one, when that time comes for you to get buried in one of our national cemeteries and for your family to receive those services.
And so, in particular, now tell us about the division that you work for, the Veterans Affairs Health Administration. What
Of course.
does that administration do in general?
Yes. So the Veterans Health Administration, as I stated before, is part of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. So we are the largest integrated healthcare system. We provide care at 1,321 healthcare facilities across the world. This includes 172 medical centers and 1,138 outpatient sites of care, and varying complexity, serving approximately 9 million enrolled veterans each year. That's what makes us different from the other two agencies. We are the ones that take care of the health and well being of our nation's heroes.
And that's so very important, especially considering that many of our veterans have been injured in the line of duty and need very specialized care, which can be very expensive. So it's wonderful that this administration can provide all of those necessary uh, aids and supports that they need and excellent medical care. And you mentioned just now that you have all of these health facilities around the world, so it reaches far beyond the United States.
Yeah, definitely. For example, when people think about VA, they just think that they are available in the mainland, but people need to remember that there are territories outside of those, outside of the mainland. So we got facilities in the Caribbean. Here, we serve Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. And then we got facilities in the Pacific. So definitely not only subscribed to the 50 states or the 48 continuous states. We are definitely outside of that scope because we have veterans in all these areas that are part of our country. So that is why we are all over the world. There is this misconception that it's only in the 50 states, but just like us, we are not a state, we are territories, and we are available here to serve our veterans.
And what about for U.S. veterans living in Europe or South America and Asia and so forth? Do you offer services in those far-reaching parts of the world?
So there are ways that veterans that are OCONUs, as they call it in the DoD lingo, will be able to get services. I encourage any veteran that is interested in getting information about where they can receive care to go to va.gov and search for the locations so that they can find the closest location for them. But it's important to mention that veterans have the right to be seen in the facility of their choice. They need to be enrolled though to get services through the VA, but as soon as they are enrolled, they can go to any facility of their preference,
Excellent.
regardless of where
And
they live.
oh, good, good. And in a previous conversation, you mentioned that telemedicine is also available so that they can engage with a VA physician over the phone or online. So I guess wherever they are on the planet, they can take advantage of that too.
That is correct. For example, here for veterans registered in VA Caribbean healthcare system or living in what we called the VA Sunshine Healthcare Network, which is between Puerto Rico, Florida, and South Georgia and the Virgin Islands. They can call the VA Health Connect line. The phone number is 1-800, I mean 1-877-741-3400. And in there, through the clinical contact center, they have virtual care and support available 24/7. It doesn't matter if it's a holiday or not. They can just call to 1-877-741-3400, and they'll be able to speak with a doctor or a nurse practitioner. They'll be able to get many other services, including administrative services like scheduling appointments and stuff like that. So it doesn't matter where they are at within the region, which again, it is Florida, South Georgia, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. They can just call in at any time and get services through that phone number, which again, I'm going to repeat 1-877-741-3400.
Thank you for that information. So, Coralys, we are here today to talk specifically about fraud
Hmm.
that's affecting veterans. and their families. But there's so much
Definitely.
other stuff to discuss regarding the VA healthcare system. But focusing again on fraud. So tell me, how is the Veterans Affairs Administration working to protect the veterans from fraud and scams?
Yes, so fraud is very popular. And again, what you just mentioned at the beginning with your study, it is definitely something that is affecting 1 in 3 veterans. So we are educating the veterans and their caregivers, their family members about what to do and how to avoid getting scammed. We are always communicating with veterans through official channels, so it's important to remember or important to know that VA will never ever ask for personal information via email, and this includes verification of social security number, address, bank information. VA only addresses personal information via mailed letters. So it is important that our veterans, as well as their family members, keep these things in mind because scammers are very creative. And those letters that we send, they have the official seal of the agency, because there are some of these scammers that they try to make these letters look a lot like official VA letters, but our letters have their header with the official seal and logo for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. So it's important that people look out for those things.
And our studies show that veterans and military and their families are highly subject to scams. From your perspective and from the VA's perspective, do you find a similar or the same kind of a situation where veterans and military are oftentimes scammed?
Oh yeah, definitely. Sadly, they are. Besides the AARP report, a couple of years ago, back in 2020, the Federal Trade Commission reported that military retirees and veterans filed reports with their agency for that year. They lost over $66 million. Military consumers, including active duty U.S. service members, veterans, and reservists, filed more than 65,000 fraud reports with the Federal Trade Commission. So this is an ongoing problem, and it is a hot topic within the military and veteran community. It is definitely affecting them.
And what are some of the common types of scams targeting veterans? What do you see from your perspective?
So top fraud complaints was for imposter scams, and the number one target of identity theft was government documents or benefits fraud. These scammers try to sway veterans to refinance their home, agree to a loan modification, or pay their loan via purchase money orders. They might even try to convince the veteran they are facing foreclosure. So right now, a banking scam is tricking veterans and current service members into sharing sensitive personal or financial information. So veterans have also been targeted by callback scams attempting to elicit financial and other personal information. So these scammers will leave messages like this: your VA profile was flagged for potential benefits to the changes in the VA program. These are time sensitive entitlements. Please call us back at your earliest convenience. If they don't leave a message, they will talk to you and say this to the veteran. So those are like the most common things we're right now facing.
And so, what advice would you give to people in general? I mean, you already mentioned that the VA will never solicit information by email, but what about by telephone calls and so forth?
So first of all, my advice for people is that if you don't remember contacting the VA for anything, just hang up the phone and call us and request information directly from us or visit one of our facilities. Do not share any kind of information via any channel with anybody. These scammers are extremely creative. Um, also, if they are sending you materials through mail or email, do not sign any contract agreeing to pay an authorized company a percentage of your benefit payment in exchange for their assistance with your VA claim. Also, I would say that if you need help filing a claim, there are representatives from veteran service organizations chartered by Congress, agents and attorneys that have been accredited by VA to assist you. And very important, do not sign a blank form for someone else to complete later. It is important to always review the completed form before signing and keep a copy for yourself. You know, it's people cannot be fooled by these companies. They just advertise. They have a special relations with medical professionals, and also they guarantee your benefits award. And if they are defrauding the federal government, you could be held responsible for paying those benefits back. So it's important that veterans validate that if they are interested in working with a veteran service organization, agent, or attorney, to use the Office of General Counsel accreditation tool to confirm and validate these credentials, and to not provide any personal information like social security number, medical records, or other personally identifiable information to anyone offering services. It is important to go to the Office of General Counsel accreditation and using their tool confirm that this person has been actually accredited by the VA to assist, not just because they are, selling you dreams and offering you all these amazing things.
So, a recent report finds that fraud experts are concerned that veterans eligible for the benefits of the recently passed PACT Act would be easy targets for criminals due to the overall lack of awareness of the new law and its benefits. In fact, an AARP survey shows that veterans say they are not aware that they can receive free assistance with or through the PACT Act and other benefits from the VA, and over 85% of them may have already been targets of fraud. So tell us about the PACT Act and what are the benefits available to veterans under this act?
Of course, yes. So the PACT Act is perhaps the largest healthcare and benefit expansion in VA history. The full name of the law is the Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson Honoring Our Promise to Address Comprehensive Toxics Act. So the PACT Act will bring these changes. It expands and extends eligibility for VA healthcare for veterans with toxic exposure and veterans of the Vietnam, Gulf War, and post 9/11 eras. It adds more than 20 presumptive conditions for burn pits, Agent Orange, and other toxic exposures. Also, it adds more presumptive exposure locations for Orange and radiation. It requires VA to provide a toxic exposure screening to every veteran enrolled in VA healthcare. And it helps us improve research, staff education, and treatment related to toxic exposures. So it is important to mention that if you're a veteran or a survivor, you can file claims now and apply for those benefits.
So the PACT Act deals only with expanding services for those exposed to toxicity or toxic situations. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And so how can veterans access these benefits of the PACT Act?
So veterans can file a claim online, by mail, in person, or with the help of a trained professional. There are two types of ways to start this. They can either file a claim with the Veterans Benefit Administration. And again, going back to what we mentioned in the beginning, the Veterans Benefit Administration, or how uh, people call it VBA, they work with everything that is compensation and pension. So it's important that veterans uh, do these two claims, go to VBA and file a claim for compensation or pension, and also to go to the Veterans Health Administration, which is us at VA Caribbean Healthcare System, and ask for a toxic exposure screening if that veteran is not registered with the VA Caribbean healthcare system or with the VA with any location of the health administration, they can just register. And after getting registered with us, they can get that toxic exposure screening done. It doesn't matter where they start the process, if it's in the health administration or the benefit administration. What's important is that they go to both administrations and submit their claims as soon as possible.
And so, what kind of support or resources can you provide today to help veterans and military families avoid the latest scams surrounding the PACT Act?
So definitely, again, do not sign anything besides my advice of not signing anything and getting information, accurate information from either the VA.gov website or veteran service organizations like the Department, the Disabled American Veterans, Veterans of Foreign Wars, American Legion. It is important to go and look for subject matter experts, which would be us at the VA or our veteran service organizations like the ones I just mentioned. So I urge veterans to go online and visit va.gov/PACT. In there, they will find all the information to submit their claims, not only with the Veterans Benefit Administration, but also information about how they can obtain the toxic exposure screening. Also, if they cannot go online, they can call to 1-800-827-1000. Again, 1-800-827-1000. And that way they can get that information on their phones and they will know where to start and what to do. But again, if you get any emails, letters, phone calls, or text messages claiming that they are the Veterans Benefit Administration, do not engage with those. Do not reply with those. If somebody invites you for a lunch with a law firm that is looking for your best interest about toxic exposures, do not engage also. Just call us, get in touch with any veteran service organizations in your community. You can go online and look for veteran service organizations chartered by Congress, and they'll be able to help you. No cost. Our information, our services, as well as the veteran service organizations are free of cost. There's nothing you need to pay, put down, or make any promises for anything in return. All you have to do is look for the information and call us and request help. We are here to serve you.
And AARP all over the United States, including here in the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, we do a lot of work informing our members, informing the wider community, the 50 plus population, and those who are younger, as well as veterans in particular. We do a lot of work with veterans all across the nation, informing people about scams and fraud. We see
Mhm.
that in recent years, scams and fraud are sharply on the rise, and so many people are being defrauded every single day, becoming victims every day, losing lots of money. In some cases, their entire life savings
Mhm.
are being lost. You know, people are falling into bankruptcy because of scams and fraud. And so at
Yeah.
ARP, we hope to bring important information to the people. And with regard to the PACT Act, looking at the ticker going across the bottom today, August 8th, and tomorrow, August 9th, at the Veterans Affairs Service unit, PACT Act claims events are being held on St. Thomas and on St. Croix. All information is there, and AARP is also present at these events with our table set up with important information regarding fraud. So we invite you to participate in these events on St. Croix and St. Thomas. Again, the one at St. Thomas is happening today as we speak. It's not too late to get there, and the one on St. Croix coming up shortly thereafter. So please do take advantage of that and learn. So how can advocates like AARP, Cora, in your estimation, how can advocates like AARP help in raising awareness and understanding of fraud against veterans?
Definitely everything that you guys have been doing, it is what we should continue to do, educating the public, presenting them with the facts, about what they have to do and how they should do it. Programs and initiatives like the ones AARP is doing across the nation is what we need. We need people to be aware, and this is an excellent way of doing that. Also, to go directly to the source of information, which is va.gov. And if you have no way of accessing the internet, go to one of our clinics. We have in the St. Thomas Clinic, we have a computer available for veterans if they need to use it. Also, our employees are there to assist you and educate you. And again, it's all about looking the information directly from the source or trusted organizations like AARP or veteran service organizations. There are many organizations in our country. And again, the Disabled American Veterans, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the American Legion, all these organizations are available to assist veterans at no cost. And these are organizations by veterans for veterans. And then there's our website, 24/7 va.gov, where you will find any information regarding the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, meaning that information about the Health Administration, the Benefits Administration, and the National Cemetery Administration is there at your fingertips. There is no need to be looking into these private organizations that are making promises about getting you all these big checks and amazing benefits. It's People shouldn't listen to those empty promises. They should go directly to the source, and we are grateful for organizations like AARP that are looking out for the best interest of our veterans and their families.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's a great pleasure to do such great work with the VA all across the United States and in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. I know my AARP colleagues in Puerto Rico do a lot of fraud watch work over there, and I know that they have close ties with the VA in Puerto Rico as well. So we're very happy to partner with your organization. And so on behalf of AARP and the Virgin Islands, I want to thank our guest, Coralys Ruiz, otherwise known as Cora, for joining us on today's edition of Conversations with AARP-VI. And so, as we near the end of our show, we have like 1 minute left. Any parting thoughts, words of wisdom, Cora?
Well, before I go again, thank you so much for giving me the time to talk about such an important topic, and for you guys to be at the forefront of creating awareness and assisting our veterans and their family members and survivors. So I'm very, very grateful for this time. Just wanted to remind our viewers that they can go online to va.gov/pact. They can also call at 1-800-827-1000. They can also visit one of our clinics in St. Thomas or St. Croix. As you stated, there is a claims clinic today in St. Thomas, and tomorrow and on Thursday, we're going to be in St. Croix. So I urge everybody watching this to go and file your claim. If in the past you filed a claim and it was denied, please go and file that claim. It is important that you do the process. And if you feel that you were denied, feel free to do an appeal. It is your right, and it is there available for you to use. And if you want to do that appeal through any of the veteran service organizations that I mentioned before, please do reach out to them. They are there to help you. All that we want is all these veterans that were in these eras to come in, get that toxic exposure done, or just file that claim and do it on both administrations. Uh, Again, if in the past it was denied,
Cora,
please
we're at the
go
end
and
of
do it.
our show. Sorry to interrupt you. We're at the end of our show. Thanks again for
No, that's
joining us
fine.
and have a great day. Okay.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.